Hi, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Jasmine the Queen.
Boss Lady Amy.
Nicole Ravioli.
And in this episode, this one is going to be called I'm Over These CE-Hoes. Basically, what we're going to be talking about is how the CEOs for a lot of healthcare businesses kind of treat the clients as more of like just business instead of looking at them as people.
Numbers.
Yep.
Numbers.
That's resident number 1, resident number 2.
Oh, resident number 1 brought in $10,000 last month.
Yeah. Or they move them to specific houses so they can meet the budgets.
And that creates many problems in the homes because then we end up with residents that just don't mesh well.
Right, yeah, because they'll put like a resident that just doesn't like fit in a home correctly with everybody else, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole bunch of problems or a whole bunch of behaviors with everybody else because this resident just doesn't mesh well with everybody else, but they're only there because they're bringing in enough money because of like how many cares they get.
And then there's the opposite side of the coin. When they put a independent resident into a facility or home that has full cares and they're the only ones like that, and then they basically think that they run the show and that they're like basically another staff.
Oh, don't even get me
God.
started. Do not even get me started.
I can't imagine who you're thinking of.
Gee, a few come to mind.
Oh.
A kerfluffle.
You're welcome for that word.
Do we have any stories about this?
I mean, probably. Just give me a second.
Bring them to the forefront.
Oh, yeah.
Like the certain ones that I think you remember this one too or whatever, but she would always literally tattletale or tell on everybody else in the home. Oh, this person's doing this. Or she would take matters into her own hands and she would be like, oh, this person needs this or this person needs that or this person did this. I'd be like, girl, worry about yourself.
I now understand teachers who were like, you don't need to be a tattletale. It's fine. Like,
there's so much stuff from school that I now understand, like, as an adult.
Literally.
And I think working has brought a lot of that, like, my understanding of that now that's brought that out.
Right?
oh, there's so much.
I have a story about a resident who, like, thought she was staff. She literally tried toileting somebody.
What? That's so dangerous.
I was like, girl, get out. You can't.
That's so dangerous.
And she was like trying to like help pull her pants down. She was like, you do it like this. And I was like, I can take it from here. Please go to your room.
Do I know said resident?
I don't think so.
It sounds a lot like one that we both know. From a certain house.
Oh,
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Speaking of that one, though, that we both know, so she was telling me, so you lost your straw.
I did. Anyway, it's fine.
I know I couldn't find the regular ones.
It's coming back up. Okay, anyways, sorry. Anyways,
the straw says, drink me.
Okay, Alice in Wonderland, calm down.
Okay, continue.
So, when I first started at that house, she was telling me about how she used to be a caregiver, and since that house had been so short-staffed, she was helping with cares and, like, helping get people up and all this stuff. And I was
I know what you're talking about. It's not that. Different area.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
this one, yeah. So, anyways, so she's telling me all these things, and I'm like, there ain't no way, but I'm just smile and nod.
That's what you have to do.
And then she tried, like, feeding one of the residents, and I was like, you can't do that. Like, please stop. Please stop. Because I hadn't even, like, finished cutting up that person's food. Like, I was like, you need to do your own thing. Please go sit down, eat your meal, and if you're not going to eat, then go find something to do.
Well, I mean, that brings us back to, like, not placed in the right house. Like, that resident shouldn't have been placed in a house that, like, had people who needed high cares.
Yeah.
And she should have been placed in a house where she can function like the rest of everybody else without having issues.
She also had, like, some dementia going on.
Yeah.
So, like, she would try and, like, cook herself mac and cheese or whatever, and she would just walk away from the stove.
Yeah.
Just leave it on, and I'd be like, can you not? Can you please not? And if you do, then you need to stay over here and watch your food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have no problem with you cooking for yourself, but you need to stay and watch your food then. You cannot step away from the stove.
Or get one of us first.
Yeah,
right.
Something.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, even though I'm the one that just brought up that point earlier that we started talking about. But sometimes when we are so short-staffed, again, going back to how sometimes these people are thought of as numbers and not people, when we don't have enough staff, like when it's a house where it's like, oh, you really only need that one staff, even though there really should be two, having those members who are higher functioning can be beneficial, depending on what task they're doing. Like, obviously, we cannot rely on residents to toilet each other.
No, but like cleaning
little
throughout the
things.
house and stuff.
Sweeping, sometimes mopping if they're willing, or taking out the garbage. Little things, but very, very helpful things.
Even doing their own laundry.
Yeah, it just depends on, like, their cognitive level and their physical level, to be honest.
Right, exactly.
But no, they cannot take care of the other residents.
That's not okay. And if you have a resident that ever tries to do that, please stop them immediately.
Please. Please.
That violates so many things.
Right.
Like,
including the other resident has.
Right, including HIPAA, because the residents don't have the right to know what's going on with other residents.
Yes.
Correct. Right, and then it's the worst when they try and talk about it with you later. Like, the one that
was
was
like,
doing that.
Oh, is so-and-so doing okay? And I'm like, not something I can discuss with you.
Right, or like if they have a fall, oh, are they okay? Did they break a hip? Well, you don't see the paramedics here, so...
Yeah, you kind of like dance around the question.
Right. Yeah, you definitely have to get really creative in ways not to be a super sass, but also not answering the question. Mm-hmm. Although sometimes I feel like I've given up. When I've answered the same question 1,000 times, I'm like, yeah, just go away.
Yeah, they're for fine. Real. Yeah, when they ask like the same question multiple times, after a while, I'm just like, no, I'm not here anymore.
We're not discussing this.
Out.
Jasmine's not here right now. Please leave us.
I literally did that. I had a resident that was asking me the same thing like all day, and I was there for 16 hours. So, like the last time he asked me, I was like, Jasmine's not here right now. Please leave a message after the beep. And I walked away.
Perfect.
It sounds mean, but like, you caregivers understand. People who aren't caregivers, like, if you were a caregiver, you would understand.
Yeah, so that reminds me. I had a girl training with me the other week, and she, like, saw me take something away from a resident, and I didn't do it, like, in a mean way or whatever, but to her, it probably looked like I was, like, snatching.
Was it that rattle?
No. No, it was, cards.
Oh, I know. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so I took them away, and like I was trying to explain, like, hey, we're gonna go, bowling. We're gonna go bowling, like, and she's just looking at me in horror, and I'm like, ma'am, no. Like, this is her first caregiving job ever. I'm like,
oh God,
come back to me in about a decade.
Your favorite person to work with.
Never again. Never.
Thank God you were there when I had to work with her.
That is the second time that I've worked with that person by myself. I felt unsafe. I felt unsafe.
Maybe if the ratios were better.
Right? No kidding.
Which I think this is a perfect time to explain ratios.
Go ahead.
Like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 or like a...
Yeah. So typically, you are going to, when you work in caregiving, you're going to encounter a either 1-to-3 ratio or a 1-to-4 ratio. So that means 1 staff per 3 residents or 4 residents. It's usually 4. Sometimes it's 3, but it's usually 4. Mm-hmm. And then there's a 1-to-1, which means this person requires constant supervision from 1 person. So 1 staff per 1 resident. Normally there will have to be a lot of instances of like behaviors, falls, or what have you before a care team, which we have explained in previous episodes, so go take a listen if you haven't already, where they will pay for a 1-to-1. A 1-to-1 is quite expensive, and it's usually the last option before, like, it's at the end after you've tried everything.
Mm-hmm. I've been trying not to interrupt you. 8-to-1. 8-to-1.
It is. Well, it depends on the cares. So
I've had worse. I've had 24-to-1.
I know. I have had the same, but like...
Oh, you're talking in big facilities.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not just in big facilities. I've worked at 3 different houses now where it has been me and 8 residents.
Mm.
And it's not like all of the residents were super low cares and there was an elopement risk. Like, can we talk about that?
I just did that the other night at my travel job.
Let me explain. Okay, before we get into that, so A, we're going to talk about short staffing for one. And
Nicole holds her tongue not to interrupt Amy, but here we are.
and B, it's all about how bad the cares are, what the care teams will pay for, and this is exactly why we're saying that these people are looked at as numbers, because these cares can be very high maintenance, but on paper, it might not look as bad or sound as bad as what it actually is.
And I know that I've explained what elopement is, but I'll do it again. An elopement is someone who runs away.
He's a runner. He's a track star.
So, like, they exit the facility. They're supposed to be under 24/7 supervision. They don't, like, have permission to be by themselves, but they just dip out at some point. So, like, if I'm in the bathroom with someone else or, like, in another resident's room because, you know, there are Hoyer lifts and stuff, did we explain what that is?
Probably in the previous episode.
So. Okay, a Hoyer lift is a full body lift with a sling. So, like, there's straps up here, straps down by their legs, and you hook them up to this machine and it lifts them for you, and there you have it. So, those are normally required to have 2 staff, but somehow some places get away with 1 person. Like, it actually being allowed to have 1 person.
So, one thing that's real neat about lifts is that even though, like, the federal government says that you're supposed to have 2 on, another real neat thing about that is that they're like, hey, this is the guideline, but we're actually going to leave it up to every individual state. So some states have laws saying that they require 2 people, and some states, like ours, are like, nah, 1's fine.
And in fact, not. Because, like, if you're overworked, like most of us are, and you're working, like, your 4th 16 in a row, then you probably, like, shouldn't be doing that by yourself. Because if you hook up the sling wrong, there's very high chances that you can drop that resident after you have them lifted in the air.
So, and it's nice to have a second person, because I don't know about you, but I've had the freaking machine die on me while I, like, halfway lifted, and I'm like, now what the fuck?
They're so obese, they tilt the machine.
Oh, yeah, so you need somebody to,
or
like,
then they don't
them.
stop doing this, and you're like, keep your arms down!
Right.
Oh, also, I should mention that each sling that goes under the resident also has, like, fabric handles on it, so you can pull them back or, like, position them wherever you're putting them, whether it's in bed or in their wheelchair, in a recliner, or whatever. Anyways, like I was saying, if I had that resident elope, you're supposed to follow them and call the cops. How am I supposed to follow them or know which direction they went if I'm in a room with somebody else by myself?
Right.
Especially, like, if you're
But
in the
yet, it
middle
would
of,
still
like,
be my fault. The company would find a way to turn it on me.
right.
Honestly, the amount of residents I've gone after, you'd think I'd be skinny, but here I am, still fat.
Same.
You know, with how much working out we do on the job between, like, showers and lifts and everything, it's a wonder any of us are overweight.
I know. I did 2 showers the other day. I was, like, dripping in sweat, so I went outside to, like, cool down or whatever, and I just thought to myself, I'm like, how the F am I still fat?
We should make a caregiver workout video.
Like, especially when I work at the hospitals and stuff or whatever, like, I get, like, anywhere over, like, 10,000 steps or whatever, and that's just at work.
Yeah.
Like...
It's
crazy.
I don't know how. See, I feel like every time we work out, though, we just, like, undo that, because then at the end of our shift, we go to, like, McDonald's or something.
Yeah.
Regardless,
'Cause we didn't eat all
burn
day.
well over whatever we're eating at McDonald's. Like, I don't care.
It's just, like, rinse and repeat. McDonald's, workout. McDonald's, workout.
Sad.
But, like, okay, so going back to what you were just talking about, imagine if you were, like, giving a shower or something. Like, depending on the resident, you can be stuck in the bathroom for, like, 20 to 30 minutes. That's a long time for an eloper to get a head start.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and they still think it's totes fine. Well, they did until the state stepped in. They're required to have 2 staff now. At all times.
I'm trying to think of what place you're talking about.
You know where I'm from.
Oh, okay. Got you. Got you. I understand now.
Yeah, it's it just wasn't great.
Was it grape?
It was not, in fact, grape soda. It was orange.
So, there's a couple different reasons. Well, I guess we should say a couple different faults for this. So, A, it's the MCOs, the care teams that we have talked about in previous episodes, what they're willing to pay for, and let me tell you, it's not a lot.
Nope.
The rates in which facilities will either pay or accept these people, that's usually also not great. Yeah, that's usually what it comes down to. It's usually not any, like, one individual person. It's usually an organization between either the state that you're in or the facility, or a combination of both.
Right.
So, the CE-Hoes better get on it.
CE-Hoes.
Why are you making that face? You just looked utterly disgusted.
I was like... She was trying to figure out her words, and I'm like, come on, girl.
I say she-e-hoes because a lot of them are female.
And a lot of them also have either never worked in a home, or have, which makes it worse, because if they have worked in a home and they know how bad it is when you're, like, single staffed with 8 residents, and they still expect you to be fine with that.
They also usually have a lot of filler and Botox.
So much shade!
That's why they call me the queen.
So, I don't want to throw shade at other females because, you know, I love the fact that, like, the healthcare world, especially the caregiving world, is a female-dominated industry. I love that. But at the same time, because most of, like, the people who are higher up in this, our little corner of caregiving, are primarily female, and it's not great because sometimes personal feelings and cattiness can, like, get in the middle of trying to conduct business, and it's very unprofessional, and it's not kosher by any means.
No, and honestly, I wouldn't say you're throwing shade at females. I would say that you're throwing shade at crappy people, crappy bosses, crappy owners of companies.
The ones that care about the money and not much else.
Right, like, I mean, I'd like to think that if I started my own company that I would not be the money-hungry, like, power-hungry person.
But honestly, I kind of think about it, and I'm like, if I did have the opportunity to start my own company, I feel like I'd be, like, a little money-hungry at first, because it's, like, something that I wasn't used to having.
There is that, but I also feel like because we are all pretty empathetic people,
I feel like we genuinely, like,
care.
about
Yes.
the others, though.
I do feel like it becomes a really slippery slope, though, because, like, once you get to that point and you have to worry about this budget and that budget and this budget and that budget, like, you start to kind of see where all of the money goes. And so I feel like eventually once you reach, like, the tippy top, like, talking about, you know, being a CEO or higher of a company, I feel like eventually it kind of just happens naturally. You kind of just worry about money so much that, like, you become money hungry.
Right.
Well, I mean, that also goes to, I can't take a pay cut, I'll lose my summer home.
Okay, that's different.
Like,
I would just sell that stuff.
Those are the people that I'm talking about. Like, I can't afford to pay my staff more or, like, give them bonuses or such and so forth because it cuts into my budget for myself.
Right.
If your staff can barely afford to live in, like, a shitty apartment, there's a problem.
Hey!
Literally.
But see, that also irritates me when companies are like, oh, we can't afford to give you a bonus, but we can pay for, like, I don't know, company-wide Christmas party
or a pizza party.
Yeah, a pizza party or something. And it's like, if you do the math, you would realize that's enough to give everyone, like, a $20 bonus, a $50 bonus. It's not much.
There was one company.
But it's better than nothing.
There was one company that I worked for that, like, I didn't go to this. They, like, arranged this whole party thing or whatever, and it was, like, a dinner for all the staff or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thought about going, and then I found out that they arranged the party, but we were still responsible to pay for our own food. So we didn't even get a free meal through our company. And I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking
Absolutely
going. Unless I
not.
get paid to go to this party, I'm not going.
I would have slapped somebody. I would have slapped a CE-Hoe.
And, like, if they're literally paying thousands of dollars for you to enjoy this one night, like, I'd rather just take the bonus.
Right. Like, give me a bonus. That's all I would want.
And, like, obviously, if it's just, like, some manager that's, like, doing it out of their own money, like, kudos, we appreciate you. But if it's put on by the company, then it's, like, why aren't you just, like, giving us a bonus or a raise?
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like, I get along with certain coworkers, obviously, because, you know, we're all coworkers.
Hey!
But, like, I really don't want to go out of my way to hang out with all of my coworkers.
No.
So.
Said it before and I'll say it again. Find yourself some like-minded individuals at your job. Stick with them. Don't look at other people.
Don't talk to other people unless it's about
breathe
the
in their
residents.
direction.
I mean, technically, Boss Lady Amy over here is the only one I met through work, but Nicole.
Well, I mean,
technically,
we were
knew
only
kind
like
of.
Acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
But me and Nicole were like in high school together, kind of. So.
Yeah.
Well, and then I found out later that we all had mutual people that we knew.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I went to high school with
that one person.
Yeah, with that one person
That
that's married to the other person.
not married.
Not married.
Oh, well, not yet. It's probably never gonna happen. They're both kind of lazy. Love you guys.
Throwing the shade.
That's why I'm the queen.
And you get shade. And you get shade.
Check under your chair. It's
I
shade.
need the RuPaul shade button.
Yeah. We should get you one.
I know, it's totally on the TikTok shop.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Anybody have some closing statements?
If you're
People
a CEO,
aren't numbers.
If you're a CE-Hoe, don't be a hoe. Be a CEO and don't be a dick.
Fair.
Be a nice person. People are people.
Mm-hmm.
Not numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's all we can say on that topic. So anyways, you can find us on our social medias. Now that we have videos, you can find us on YouTube, Boss Ravioli Queens. You can find us on TikTok at Boss Ravioli Queens. You can also email us or find us on Facebook at bossravioliqueens@gmail.com.
We like friends.
Yep, we like friends, we like feedback, we like other ideas because,
Comments,
we can't think of all of them.
Yeah, if you ever have any topics, please let us know. There's so many things that we haven't talked about yet that we would like to. So,
And I also feel like now's a good time to say, like, we're trying to advocate not only for ourselves but healthcare workers in general. So if you have a topic that you want us to talk about that you know that we haven't yet, or even if you don't know if we have, just message us or email us, comment on a post, whatever you need to do, but, like, make your voice heard because we will hear you.
Yes, we will. Well, until next time, bye!
bye!